What if the thing that you built your entire identity and life around disappeared tomorrow? That's exactly what happened to me. Football wasn't just something I played, it was who I was. And when that identity slowly started to crumble away, so did I. I spent years chasing one dream. I played Division I football at 3 different universities. I earned my bachelor's and master's degree while competing. And today I coach and mentor hundreds of young athletes. From the outside looking in, it probably looked like everything was going to plan, but no one seen the identity crisis that was happening underneath all of it. Growing up, football became everything to me, really sports in general. In elementary school, if you the fastest kid at your elementary school, you got motion. You gonna be that dude. So it really started from there. After that, I played football, track, basketball, and I just simply wanted to be the best at it. Nobody likes losing. I was a very competitive kid. And as I grew up, every decision that I made centered around becoming the best player I could be, because that's ultimately where I believe my value came from. Then going into high school, I was competing for the long jump. I was one of the best freshmen in the nation at the time. And with this jump in particular, as I was approaching the board, I heard a loud pop. I thought it was the start of the race, but it was my leg. I had tried to get up and run, but I fell back down, and that's when I knew, my leg was over. So I broke my leg. I'm getting carried out. I'm in the hospital. I don't remember much of that day, but I remember waking up and it being very hard to breathe. And what they had told me was that I was essentially dead and they had to resuscitate me and bring me back to life while I was under for surgery. So I spent the next couple of days in the hospital just trying to get fluid out of my lungs, trying to fight to breathe, really just fighting for my life, trying to get back up on my feet. Even though my leg was broke, trying to crutch around, it was hurting. Every movement that I made hurt. And that's when I first realized overnight, you could go from being on the top of the mountain, being at the peak, to having to start from ground zero all over again. So eventually I shook back, started grinding even harder, earned a scholarship to Fresno State University, which is about 30 minutes from where I stay, 30, 40, depending on how fast you're driving. Some people be driving slow. While playing at Fresno State, my freshman year, I had started as a true freshman and I had a decent season for a freshman. But after my freshman year, we had got a new coach, and that's when everything really started to change. When you get a whole new coaching staff in there, you have to essentially prove yourself all over again. And they bringing in the people that they want there. So I had gotten injured or whatnot, and ultimately lost the battle for the starting position. And then that's when things went downhill. I wasn't seeing the field at all. Like I'm telling you, I wasn't even on special teams. Like I was probably that backup. I'm talking about still getting suited up for home games, looking at the mascot like, dang, man, I wish I could just do what he doing. It was that bad, I promise y'all. So going from starting to not doing anything really took a toll on my mental and emotional health. And the very thing that I thought defined me was being taken away from me. For the first time in my life, I didn't know who I was anymore. My motivation disappeared. My grades started slipping. I started looking for fulfillment in places that only made it worse. I ultimately just felt unwanted. There was a time where I had an exit interview with all the coaches, and they all sat around and they looked at me and asked me, do you even want to be here? And that put me in a tough position because, man, I came here to ball, but y'all asking me, do I want to be here? But that ultimately let me see what type of mindset they was on at the time. So after that, I was getting drug tested like every other month. I promise y'all, if y'all know anything about college football or college sports in general, you're only getting tested about 2 times a year. Once by the NCAA and once by your school. Hey y'all, this is just a conspiracy, but it really seemed like they were trying to get me out of there, but didn't have a reason to really just kick me off, you feel me? Shoot, I even got randomly selected for a drug test after my birthday weekend. Like, come on, let's be for real. But anyways, I got up out of there. I went to the University of Rhode Island. Don't ask me how we ended up there, just know we ended up there. Was there for 2 years. And for my grad year, my last year, I went to Hampton University. It was real unique. I might make another video about my HBCU experience. But yeah, my experience at Hampton, especially playing football, was very unique. That last year I still had hope. I believed that if I just worked harder, I finally earned the life that I was chasing. One summer, instead of flying home, I slept in my car. And even in a team facility, it was me and 2 other teammates sleeping in the team facilities. I was in the team room. I had an air mattress in the team room. And every morning we had a routine. We'll wake up, walk out to that field, and start grinding. All we had was each other and the goals that we wanted to achieve that season. And ultimately, we wanted every extra workout we could get. All that time spent on the field ultimately paid off. We were obsessed with the grind. And after my last season playing football, eventually I realized something that completely changed my life. Football was never the problem. My identity was. I spent years believing my value came from performance, but my purpose was never going to be found in a jersey. a depth chart, or somebody else's opinion. And eventually I had to move back home, and coming back home really forced me to slow down and ask, who am I? What lasts when everything else is taken away? That's what ultimately led me to Christ and completely changed how I view success and purpose. From the position that I'm in right now, I can ultimately look back at my story and take away 5 key things. The first being your identity cannot depend upon temporary achievements, whether that be your job, being a student athlete, your relationship. They're all temporary and they're not lasting. You have to root yourself in something that is not temporary, something that's unchanging. And ultimately, you have to view yourself the way your creator would view you. Because if you view yourself the way you yourself view you as a human, then you're going to believe what every other human thinks about you and how they see you. The second takeaway that I have is reaching the top does not heal insecurity. Hustle culture has confused everyone. Everybody thinks they could just grind and stack and that would heal them. But there's always going to be that void. No matter how much you grind, no matter how much you push, no matter how much you chase a goal or a purpose, there's always going to be that void in your heart. And the only person who can fill that void is Jesus Christ himself. The third thing that I can take away from my story is that setbacks and hard seasons are ultimately shaping you for your real calling. You know, when I look back from my broken leg, going from starting to not starting, every setback shaped me and made me the person who I am today. Those were reps that I needed to prepare me for the future. The fourth thing I can take away is having a relationship with your Lord and Savior. We try to make things performative, but God ultimately cares about who you are and who you're becoming more than what you do. The fifth and last thing that I can take away from my story is purpose. True purpose is found in service, not self-indulgence or self-validation. Y'all ever get that feeling when you just give something to somebody or just gift something to somebody? Imagine having a life and a purpose devoted to that service, whether it be coaching, teaching, mentoring, leadership. That's what this life is all about. It's about pleasing God, glorifying God in everything that we do and serving others. If you're in a season where it feels like everything that you've built your identity around is slowly falling apart, maybe your life isn't falling apart. Maybe God is showing you that your identity was never supposed to be built around something that can be taken away in a split second. And that's why I started Unified. Because if I can even at least help one person discover their identity and purpose before life forces them to, then every setback I went through was worth it. My name is Randy Jordan Jr., and this is my story.